It is certainly safe to say that I underestimated Caitlyn Smith in 2018 with her album Starfire, which I don't even know if I even covered. Did I review that? I don't know if I did. But I might have thrown it in a few good reviews or something like that, but it definitely deserved more. It definitely deserved more praise from me back in 2018 because looking back, it certainly would make the year end list. I just find her approach to the country sound really interesting. She's got this nice blend of like rock and pop and just makes great tunes and some really well written tracks too, like This Town Is Killing Me. Some fantastic songs on there, certainly an album that needs more attention than it definitely has been getting over time. And Supernova is here now, which is an album I wasn't quite expecting because I don't think I follow her on any social media, so I wasn't quite sure when this was coming out, but it's here and it's pretty good. Maybe I'm falling victim to accidentally underestimating her once again, but I do think this time around we've gotten an album here that is not quite as good as Starfire. But hey, maybe in 2 years' time I'll be like, hey guys, I underestimated the last Caitlyn Smith album. I think in comparison it's hard to not look at these two albums side by side because in terms of sound, they're very similar. Like, there isn't really that much difference in what Caitlyn is doing on this one here. Only in some parts of the album, I definitely think she's going a bit more out there with like the pop sound. It certainly feels like these tracks are less distinct in what their influences are because a lot of the time it is really like listening to something I might just hear passing by on like an adult contemporary radio station, which might be a bit of a weak complaint and a bit of a weak critique, but I do think there is less of that flair shining through. In fact, this album does remind me a little bit of Caroline Rose's most recent album. These two albums coming out at a very similar time period. It is too coincidental because the critiques of this album here remind me of what I was critiquing with Caroline Rose. Just lost that spark somehow. Especially lyrically, I think this time around Caitlyn Smith is not quite provoking much thought out of me listening to her music here. Damn You for Breaking My Heart, a very simple concept. You know, I feel as though this could have come from like an early Taylor Swift album in terms of like the lyrical arc behind this. And then tracks like I Don't Want to Love You Anymore, which are just a bit too over the top, sound like an X Factor finalist performance in some ways in terms of like the melodramatic performance from Caitlyn and the kind of like sappy lyrics. A couple of weak one-liners on Put Me Back Together as well don't really go over too well, with the line about you know, Coca-Cola, Hennessy, you know, people say you're bad for me, things like that. It's just a bit ugh. Even with that all said though, the tunes are still there, like the songs are enjoyable to listen to. I can stick this on, not really think about it too much and just enjoy Caitlyn Smith's performances because she is just such a good vocalist. The tracks have some really like soaring choruses as well. When you hit those choruses, the tracks really start to shine through. Best examples of this, Rare Bird, Fly Away, two of the best tracks here. Just once you hit those choruses, listening to those vocals just really brings me back to what made me start to fall in love with Starfire, you know, just those fantastic like peak performances coming from a singer who clearly has so much talent. It is a shame to me though that I feel like the writing is suffering a little bit, you know? The closing track, Lonely Together, I could name 100 different variations of of this one song, the concept of being lonely together. I just feel like I've heard that way too much at this point. All over again, same energy, man. Just the idea of how you would put yourself through all that pain and misery just to be with that person one more time. I don't know, like, I've never been able to relate to that, honestly. Like, I don't know why people say stuff like that. Maybe it's just how I am, and maybe I'm just out of touch with that feeling. But, bruh, who? Where does that come from? Even still, though, it's not like she's approaching this topic with new eyes, fresh ideas. She's just very much writing a song like this, like you'd expect it. I feel like just me saying, speaking about some of these tracks you might not have even heard the tracks, but I feel like you can get a picture in your head about what exactly you're going to get listening to them. That's kind of how basic some of the writing gets here. It's just not as vivid as I like my breakup albums to be, or even relationship albums to be. I mean, she's certainly not touching like a Regina Spektor or a Fiona Apple or even an FK Twigs from her latest album. I could go on and on and on with these artists who just manage to put your head in a completely different space when you're listening to what they have to say. But it's still pretty solid. Like, this is just all critiques of the lyrics that don't quite hold up for me. But the tunes are there, the songs are pretty good overall. And again, like I said, just sticking this on, actually, you can kind of just blow past some of those minor issues and just enjoy this album for what it is. I feel like Caitlyn Smith fans, even as small as she is as an artist, like, you're probably going to come out of this album liking it to an extent, and I have too. I like it to an extent. Just definitely has way more flaws than her previous one. So check it out, but I think for me it's a 6 out of 10. Not to steer you away from listening to this though, I think she's a really talented artist. And you know, the more people checking her out, the better, because you're probably going to stumble upon at least a few songs that you think are pretty damn special. Because she's that kind of artist. I think she's one of those artists where, like, you'll at least find a song, just one song, the one song that you will think, yeah, this is fucking good. Thank you for watching my review. Hopefully you had a good time listening to what I have to say. If you disagree, let me know. If you agree, also let me know in the comments. That would be great. Subscribe. Tell me what I should review next. And yeah, have a good day. Goodbye.